What's up, people? Welcome back to another explanation video. This time I'm going to go over steps in this game. Well, I'm not talking about any steps. I'm talking about a combat system type of stepping. So like dash or backflip, left or right. It is actually a very important concept in this game, especially if you want to learn the combat systems, and it will help you a lot. So yeah, I'll be explaining that in a nutshell. Alright, let's do this, shall we? Okay, so the first thing I want to talk about is the buff, Billion Blossom. The Billion Blossom allows you to keep skill connection. It also lets you keep the steps as well. So maintain the skill connection. So it's a really good way to keep your source skill connection is by using the steps. So this is actually a very important concept that I talk about briefly in the Billion Blossom video that I made a while ago. So stepping any direction with Billion Blossom activates, you can keep that source skill. So which means that it will save you a lot of time. If you mess up like a skill connection, you want to still keep it, just do a step in any direction you want. I mean, even back if you want to, but normally I don't recommend people to do a backflip. It's not really necessary. Usually the most used are the front or the left or the right. So yeah, these are the three you really need to do. The backflip is not really necessary, although it is pretty useful for certain weapons. Not for dual wield, but for certain weapons. And you have to look at certain situations as well, like certain enemies. And if you're a little bit off when you're doing skill connection, you want to readjust the positions. So it's actually a really good way to learn the steps. So in this video, I'm not just talking about Billion Blossom because I already did back then, but I'm talking more focus on the steps in this game as like the combat systems. So of course I will show you guys what I meant by that. But all you need to know is that Billion Blossom does keep, while you're doing side steps or anything, it will keep your source skill connection active. If you don't have Billion Blossom, anytime you do a side step, you're gonna lose that source skill connection. So it's not like you can just step infinite and you still keep it anytime you do a source skill connection. You must have Billion Blossom to keep your source skill connection when you're doing the steps. You won't lose it. So yeah, that's pretty much it. Okay. So the next thing I want to talk about is literally the step itself. So it's much easier to show it what I meant when I'd explained that stuff earlier. Basically, if you lock on a target and you have your weapon equipped, so you can do the left or do the right, even the backflip like I said, or the dash forward. So you will mainly see that a lot in the video. There are some people probably like, back then I did get a lot of questions. They're like, how do I keep my skill connection, or how do I not mess up skill connection, etc. And that's what it is. Like what is like the best way to do it is like literally you have to understand the stepping and how it works in this game. So for example, like I explained earlier, if you don't have Billion Blossom activate, here's the example. I'm not going to use Billion Blossom, but whenever you see me do a source skill connection, you will see that disappear. If I didn't use Billion Blossom, my source skill connection will disappear even if I'm doing any steps to any directions. The whole point of having the steps in the combat system in this game is that to maintain your source skill connection and faster source skill. Because for example, if you want to do a source skill if you do a double circuit to start burst, you cannot repeat that, you know, because whenever you end in a certain source skills, you ends there. So for example, if I were using, I'm gonna go and galvanize real quick, because so if I were using stop us right here, I cannot go in the double circular again. So it's not like I can keep using that infinite spam. But if I'm using a double circular, stop us, sidestep, I can already use it again. So it basically saves you a lot of time from resetting your source skill in this game. Basically, it works really well. Now the other thing that I want to talk about is the having Billion Blossom activate. It will keep your source skill connection. Yeah, what I meant by that here, let me just get another galvanize real quick. That way it's easier to show, because I don't have enough SP even if I want to show it. So it's always good to demonstrate with a galvanize. So this time I will activate the Billion Blossom. So let's do the same thing again. Last time you saw that when Billion Blossom wasn't activated, you lose the skill connection. See, you can do a side step and you still keep the skill connection. You can do a backflip too. You can do a dash too. You can do any direction you want. Basically, the whole point of like dashing in combat skill is to keep up the you know, if you have Billion Blossoms, to keep the source skill, and you can keep using source skill faster. That's the whole point, you know. You don't have to reset it every time or wait for the animation to end. So this is a really important concept for any type of weapon. You know, understand when to use the dash and etc. This is why, if people want to, you know, understand furthermore, just play around with it. Like I already explained it, the majority of that stuff and the importance. Now it's a little bit tricky when you're doing shine and step. That is a really tough one, because you have to know when to step and not to mess up the skill connection as well. But I won't explain that in this video, because like this, it's just if you do get to that level, then you have to really practice a lot to know that. Because like I did before, when I'm doing, you know, when I first started practicing that stuff, I messed up pretty much every time. My skill connection always resets. But if you're just using the regular source skills, like the any source skills, that doesn't have the what's it called, the branching skill, you'll be fine. Just make sure you have Billion Blossom and learn the side steps. This is why you see me do side steps a lot in this game, in pretty much all my videos. It's to keep the flow of the combat faster, you know, and keep the source skill connection. Always, you know, learn the side step. You can step any direction you want, like I mentioned it. But the thing is, you have to know when to step is also important too, you know, to get to the next connection. So yeah, I'm just gonna leave it here, because I'm just want to talk about in general, so not like really specific what you need to do, like to keep the skill connection or going into the next skill connection. But the whole point of the step in this game is a really important, like a combat, you know, combat system. So make sure you understand that. If you want to go further into the game, you will need it pretty much for all the weapons and stuff. So yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed. Until next time.